Assignment 1, Task 2, Unit 8, Psychology, Uniform Public Services, Level 4, Higher Education, for Tony Ixer by Dominic John Francis. In this PowerPoint, I will be talking about the different theories that I discussed and how they can benefit the public services and what each one of them brings to the table. The theories I will be talking about is behaviorism, humanism, and cognitive, along with also talking about conflict management and how that helps with the services. First one to talk about is behaviorism. This is basically stating that how we act and how our psychology works is based on our environment and what experiences we have along in this environment. So this and how we react to all of it. And it's, in other words, it's also known as conditioning. So conditioning is like when you unintentionally associate certain things with actions. A good example of this that's been done in studies has been Pavlov's dog, where he would have dogs notice that they were salivating while looking at smelling and looking at dog food, and seeing that obviously it shows that they're hungry and they're ready to eat. And then but the thing is, he would ring a bell and the dogs wouldn't associate the bell with anything. What he ended up doing was he would have a selection of dogs put into this room, and every time he would ring the bell, he would have this door slide up and show the dog food, and the dog would be able to eat it. And every time they were eating the food, they would ring the bell. The dogs would later start associating the bell ringing with food. So as soon as he rung the bell, they would start salivating, thinking it's food. So they associated the sound of the bell for food. Where you can see this commonly in the real life world is how we associate with fire alarms and stuff like that. The fire alarm, if you hear a fire alarm, you instantly know what it means, and you instantly know that you need to go outside, find your fire exit, and line up accordingly while the fire service get there. And it's also sirens. You hear police sirens and you automatically assume something is happening, and you immediately, when you're in the car, you move out of the way because you know a police car is coming by. So because you're conditioned to know when a police car is coming by, you get out of the way when you hear the sirens. This can also be done with your emotions. A common way that it's done in every day is you can associate certain emotions with certain songs with music. Like you can have some music that can make you feel emotional because it makes you remember a moment where you heard the song before. It could bring back a memory, or either it's just a song that reminds you of a situation. The next case I want to talk about is humanism. Humanism is a study of how an individual responds to situations, and also learning how they can adapt with their strengths and weaknesses, and also how they react to people, how they speak, what their body language is like. So are they confident? So do they keep their arms wide, and do they stand straight? Do they keep eye contact with someone? While you can have more shy body language, which is more shunned away. You avoid eye contact and you're quite quiet. Confidence is another thing with them, and this can be seen through doing activities and talking with groups. And where you can see it can affect the mental state as well, because if someone isn't confident in a situation, it can cause them to panic, get stressed, and then make mistakes. Where the services see this is especially with the new recruits, and then also trying to get the office, for example police. They need to have a certain level of confidence and reassurance, knowing that they can get the job done. So, and how they do this is by getting team building exercises. So they get a team cohesion amongst the group, getting them more confident, getting them more proud of who they are. And this is done frequently to make sure that their teamwork is vital and that they can be sure that they can do the job themselves. This would also be like giving reports in front of courts, so they need to make sure that the information they're giving and they have is correct, and that they can't seem like they can be doubted or unreliable. Next one is cognitive. Cognitive study is basically the process of how an individual receives the information that they are given. When they are given the information, it can affect how they are able to use that information, so where they can apply it in everyday life. If how it would be ideal to them to use it in a stressful situation, so like in an accident or so. Also, attention to detail, which would your cognitive ability would affect you, especially if you're in the police, because you need to make sure that you're noting down all witness reports, you're getting every statement correct, you're not missing anything out that could be vital importance for a court order. And also it's your creativity and your imagination. So another way you can see this is if you're in the military and you come across, like you had a bridge that's been damaged in a way, and your mission is to get to a destination that's across this bridge, you would immediately think, what's the best way to get around this? You could either think of making a makeshift bridge, or you can go around and find an alternate route. It's all basically how you can deal with that situation on the spot, because of what information you've brought in and your knowledge of the situation. This could also be linked with what I was speaking to before, is behaviorism, which you can link to like certain things. So, for example, your cognitive ability, you learn how to, like, if you see a rope, you learn how to, in the military, you learn how to climb the rope quickly and effectively. Use it, even with kit and all. If you cognitively, you find that you're in an area and you haven't got any way to go, you've only got like a large surface. One way you can think about is there a rope? You can use a rope, or you can start and climb above that, because you're thinking on the spot, remembering. I'm trained to do this. I've trained in this way. I know how I can go above this because of my experience I've had, which is what links with behaviorism, because it's what you've affected by your environment and what you've done from past experiences. And then, so now moving from the theories, we're going on to conflict management, which is the whole idea of how someone can deal with a high tension situation. So this would be when in times of stress and aggression, and people showing aggression, signs of violence, and it's just trying to stop conflict within one individual or two parties. So this can be like a sporting event when you have two like football teams, you have like Liverpool, Manchester, you don't mix them together. And so your whole job is to get in the middle of them and calm the situation down before it gets worse. So it's making sure there's no making sure they're not fighting, making sure there's no verbal abuse, and telling them to separate and keep it in the area relaxed, calm, but mainly controlled. And it's just preventing any of this. You can see this very frequently within both the prison service and the police service. Prison service, it's mainly within making sure that inmates don't fight amongst each other, but it can also be to make sure that inmates don't cause issues with the actual prison wardens, and it's just to make sure that, because if you can't solve a conflict within a prison, it can transpire and get even worse. So it's a very important skill to have, because if not, it can cause someone to get injured or die. It's also seen within the police, as I was saying earlier, they have many situations where aggression and conflict is going to happen. So if they got to a situation where, let's say, someone's saying that they owe the other person money, and they're threatening aggression and all that, their job is to get in there, calm the situation, talk through both of them, see what's going on and what's affecting each other. And then what they would do is they will try and compromise with them and see, okay, you need this to happen, we can't have this, but we can help you with this, or you're going to simply just get them to move, calm the situation down, just get the whole area clear, and making sure that no one gets hurt and more people get involved more than it should be. So in conclusion, from what I believe is that psychology is a massive benefit for the public services, especially the ones who work with the actual public. So this would be police, fire, paramedics, because it helps them understand how a person thinks and reacts to situations. And when your job is to literally deal with people and having to make sure that during these stressful times, or times where people need assistance or leadership or issues like that, you need to know how they are thinking, how they're behaving, and how you should react in response to make sure you're reacting appropriately. So this can be like if you clearly see that someone's had an accident, like if you're a paramedic and you see someone's like being in a road traffic accident, you need to you should see the signs of shock. You need to know how to deal with them, deal with the signs of shock. You know how to talk to them, understand them, calm them down, and just talk them out of it. Talk them out of being scared. You need to make sure they're relaxed. And also, it can help with a lot, and this is why I think the massive benefit is that it can help with recruitment and also reassessing all possible public service members. Because it's all good how they do it now with the psychiatric tests, but sometimes the psychiatric tests don't give you a full clarification on how the person thinks and what type of individual they are. All it is a few little questions that you answer and shows you your problem solver, but it doesn't give you an idea of what that person is like. With this, I think if you combined a test with the Eisenhower's personality test, where you answered about 36 questions, combining it with let's say a situation awareness course, so you're given a sign of stress, you've got to do all this, you've got to control the situation, and then if you give them, and then you give them an interview after that, so you can have a talk after seeing the results. All of these, one by one, they don't give the best clear representation of the person because for different circumstances. It's like during their last year, a police officer stopped 3 terrorists from attacking some innocent people. He was clear. Fellow officers described him as a calm, collective guy who normally quite quiet and reserved to himself. But in that situation where they were attacking, he changed. He was instantly in there. He didn't think about himself. He was quite dominant. He was very assertive. He came in. He showed no fear. He was aggressive to the terrorists, stopping them from hurting other people. But that's what I mean. So you need to do both these tests. So you need to see what they're like calm and what they're like collected, and then you also need to see what they're like when they're stressed. So, in conclusion, I think psychology should be studied by the public services because it could greatly boost their efficiency. Thank you, I'm Dominic Francis, and this was my presentation.